Sidebar podcast is made possible today thanks to support by Beatles the Bug and the thought of George Harrison's hands. When was the last time you thought about the third best Beatles veiny set of finger wahs? Well, today's the day. We're talking George Harrison's hands all day and all Hard Day's Night. If you've got your mind set on watching that new Michael Bay explosion thing on that channel you can't remember, then sweet Lord, do we have a vision for you. It's George Harrison's hands. Fingers on palms with hair. If the image of George Harrison's hands etched into your morning toast doesn't make your guitar gently weep, then you might be dead inside. Like George Harrison, because, hey, he's dead.
You board the airplane for a 13-hour flight to Seoul. A sweaty man sits next to you, opens a bag of Fritos, and tells you his name is Doug. Welcome to the Sidebar. I'm Clint Mars-Novak, filling in for Sebastian Morales, who is currently sporting a tank top at an office Christmas party. Diljar Gunnarsson is a frequent contributor to Runner's World. His article, Running Without Boundaries, focuses on distance running and advances in running technology. Diljar, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Now, one thing that I think I have always thought about distance running, I've always wondered, how far is too far?
Well, there are many people who have been trying to push the limits of distance that the human body can run. And none more fascinating than the Tarahummara, the tribe of ultra runners in the Chihuahua province of Mexico.
And these people have, of course, been a fascination of yours for many years.
Absolutely.
You've followed them on their trails. You've tried to keep up with them during their runs. You lived with them for quite some time, and you were even engaged to one of the women of the tribe. Tell us about how you've managed to become a part of the Tarahummara family.
It was a difficult process. Having them accept me as one of their own, it was something, I wanted to dedicate my life to. And as a journalist, I thought, if I just go every day and I show them that I'm interested in their culture and that I mean them no harm, that eventually they will accept me. And it took about 3 years for them finally to let me run with them. It was really a special day.
Mm-hmm. And what were the different ways in which you had to get close to the tribe? It could be kind of a courtship ritual of sorts.
Well, I would provide them water along the way. I would, as they were doing these long distance runs, I almost like a marathon station. A hydration station, mm-hmm. And I would hand out little solo cups of water to them.
I've always wondered how those people at the hydration stations feel, because they just watch the runners just pass by person after person after person after person. Is it kind of lonely being there as at the water station, or do you feel?
Yes.
It is?
Absolutely. Yeah. You're out there in the middle of nowhere sometimes, and you don't know if they've chosen this route. What was the weather like? Did it change the pattern of their run? You're out there hoping that you can make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Now, you did make a difference, actually, in these people's lives. You were probably one of the first journalists to break the story of the Tarahummara to the outside world. And one of the ways in which you got their trust is you were one of the first outsiders to run barefoot with them.
Yes.
And you actually have a name in the Tarahummara tribes. They call you Bigfoot.
Yes.
Because you have such large and hairy feet and very bright white. How did they take to your feet?
Well, at first, I think it was a bit of a shock. It was a bit of a shock at first for them. Never had they seen such pale white flesh. For them, I appeared as an outsider, and then for them to see my skin looking so much different, it was hard for some of the elders of the tribe to accept me. The young people, having experienced, run-ins with the outside world, were more accepting of someone who looked different than them.
Yes, of course. It's hard to imagine kind of someone different from yourself when you haven't experienced something such as that. Now, you yourself chronicled in various columns how superhuman these people were and are. Could they be classified as X-Men of sorts?
I think they absolutely should be. I've received a lot of pushback about my thoughts, but anyone that can run up to 400 miles in 48 hours is beyond the scope of any other athlete that we've ever seen in Olympic history. It has to be noticed that these people are potential superheroes, distance running champions. The tales of marathon seem like nothing compared to the runners of the Tarahummara.
That is absolutely incredible. What would you... we have a few other peoples in this world who are excellent athletes, such as the Sherpas and the Nepalese who climb Mount Everest.
Their feet are really something to be admired.
Their feet are also actually quite large, maybe even larger than your own.
Yes.
We have not yet held a measurement, but in Nepal, a foot is actually larger in Nepal than it is anywhere else, the measurement of a foot.
Yes, and the way that they have also built up their sort of immunity to the elements, right?
And the way that they do that is they have the Nepalese pedicure that just traps all of the moisture into their skin and keeps out all of the outside elements.
Yes, the yak's wax.
Yeah, it really lays on thick and just sticks to it, so you can almost use your feet as a suction cup.
Yeah, it's really incredible, the calluses that are built up with the yak's wax. And foot care is something that's very important to the Nepalese as well, as well as the Tarahummara. Stretching is certainly part of the ritual, as I'm sure it is with the Nepalese.
As I'm sure it is with any athlete. You have to stretch to remain strong. Strength without flexibility is meaningless.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And throughout all of your time, you've become a big proponent of running barefoot. You think everybody should be barefoot all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I've really made a push for everyone to ditch their running shoes, start off small, run on the pavement, build up some calluses. And, I've received a lot of flack from my editor at Runner's World. Because I tell everyone not to wear shoes, and that you'd be much better off just running barefoot, because that's how you were meant to run. Everybody, okay? Don't believe the propaganda. That's how you were meant to run, okay? As a barefoot, the way that God intended.
So how do you intend, as God intended? How do you suggest someone gets started hardening their feet? How do you get calloused? How do you stretch a foot? How do you prepare your foot to take all of this brutal damage from the earth?
I think you start small, and you start with something like a pumice stone, something that is a little bit rough. You can take off some layers of skin, but if you really scrub hard, you can start to build up some calluses, like playing a guitar. You just keep doing it every day.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like a wedding stone for a sword. You just go over your foot over and over.
Absolutely.
At what age do you suggest that you start shaving your feet or rubbing your feet with these stones? When you're a baby, when you are growing into adolescence?
In the Gunnarsson family, we started at an early age. I started at the age of 4 with the warming stones, and and the hot oils. We take a lot of pride being a Bigfoot family the way that we are.
Of course. And where the oils I know are the best oils for this come a lot of times from the Caribbean. Where exactly did you get yours from, and how were they delivered?
Oh, yes. Ours actually come from the Dominican Republic. Normally not known for many of their exports, other than maybe plantain that Americans would recognize. But really incredible, the quality that we've been receiving from them.
Mm-hmm. And they would actually send them to you by carrier pigeon.
Yes. They have really revitalized an industry that we had thought lost.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't need boats of cargo boats when you just have 300 pigeons carrying little pouches full of oil.
Of course. The pigeons are much, much more efficient.
They have a distinct way of training these pigeons. They clap out signals in Morse code in order to tell them where to go, so that people who are not trained in the language of Dominican pigeon clapping these people can't decipher where all of these shipments are going. You actually are a expert in Dominican pigeon clapping.
I mean, I don't want to use the word expert.
I will.
But yes, I am. It's another one of my passions. And when I get into something, I dive in. I dive completely in. And it's something that I was so fascinated in. And the reemergence of pigeon, parcel travel.
Yes.
It really fascinated me. So I thought, how did this work? How did this come about? And we're bringing it back, so it must be efficient. So I studied. I lived with pigeons. I find the Goodall approach is the best way. I've spent many years just immersing myself with different cultures and tribes. Mm-hmm. Pigeon clapping was really a scary world. It's the underbelly of a lot of crime. So it's something that I could only handle, and my family could handle for so many years.
Because pigeon clapping is one of the top ways in which drugs are actually peddled throughout.
Yes.
And it is, once you know pigeon clapping, there's actually a few masters of pigeon clapping who teach it throughout the Central America and the Caribbean. And once you know pigeon clapping, you're actually on a list of pigeon clappers. And then you can get hired out to anyone, to the cartel, to pretty much anyone.
Yeah, I try to ask as few questions as possible anytime that, I've been brought in to consult on pigeon clapping. It's better, the less details that I know, the better for everybody.
And through your pigeon clapping days, you actually found, I don't want to say founded, but you were one of the early pioneers of another sport, the running with pigeons. And that's where you just run holding pigeons. And then you have to, whoever gets not only to the finish line first, but with the calmest, most loving pigeon is the winner. So it's kind of a two sports at once, animal handling and athletics. And how did that come to be? I'm assuming it was a botched clapping assignment gone wrong.
No, really, it was an outreach to pets that needed help. Much like horses who are used for their meat or put down after not winning a race, or a greyhound who are treated, terribly and put into mass graves or kept in cages their entire lives. This was an outreach of compassion for the pigeons.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these pigeons are disadvantaged pigeons. They don't have proper homes to go to. They don't have proper people to look after them. And so they need to feel like they have a use in their lives. And if running with pigeons can give any pigeon a purpose, no pigeon left behind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it sounds like you're on board with our mission statement, which I really appreciate your support.
Having grown up in New York, I was around a lot of pigeons, and I hate them. But I do understand your compassion for another living being in just the most basic of senses. As like, I care about another human. I don't care about pigeons whatsoever.
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, I suppose.
Actually, you sent a pigeon to us. You clapped a pigeon to our offices, my office here in Chicago, and our beloved researcher, the intern Addie Harper, actually picked up the pigeon, and it was carrying oil, hot oil, and it spilled it all over her lap, and then pecked at her ears. So she now has cauliflower ears from this pigeon.
Oh, no.
And it's her fault, really, because she had she didn't get smallpox when she was a child, so it came back, and so her ear actually looked like a bunch of pieces of corn.
Ah, that's terrible. I'm really sorry to hear that. I would love to apologize to Addie.
Well,
I'm terribly sorry. I thought I'd sent a loving pigeon who just was looking for love in return.
Apparently you didn't, and she can't accept your sorries because she currently can't hear because she has gauze covering both of her ears, and she's currently blinking at me, very dead-eyed. She has no spirit. It's completely crushed.
Oh.
It's exactly how we like our interns to be.
Oh my gosh.
Keep up the good fight, Addie. Keep up the good fight. Now, you are a huge fan of the, am I saying this right? The five-fingered shoes, the toe shoes.
Oh yeah.
You are
Vibrams.
The Vibrams?
Vibram 5 fingers, yes. Don't accept any imposters, okay? Fila, Reebok, Adidas, I'm talking to you. Vibram 5 fingers. They'll set you free. They really will. They'll change your life.
What if I don't want to be free?
Why would you not want to be free?
Well, a lot of people may fight against the five-fingered toes, the Vibrams. There's a lot of pushback, apparently, because it is change and because it gives you freedom to be who you were originally meant to be. But what if I like what we've become?
Well, I think that, given a chance, maybe you would change your mind. You would change your mind if you could experience the way that your toes feel as they are able to spread, the way that they were meant to, the way we were built to let our toes just spread ever so wide and take a nice grounded base. You can feel the balance that you've never felt before. It's really something incredible. And you give yourself a few weeks, and if you had back pain or knee pain, you'll find that it goes away.
Now, you name each of your toes individually just to feel a closer connection to them because of the relief that they give you throughout your whole body. What are the names, and why do you name them so personally on a deeper level?
Well, adopting some of the characteristics of the tribe, they revere their feet and they are worshipped. So to name my toes was an act of servitude, I suppose is the word. So for me, I took a deep personal meaning, naming them after Catholic saints. So St. Patrick, St. Jonathan, St. Francis, and St. Anthony.
I understand actually that you also not only adopted the practices of the Tarahummara, but this specific tribe had the ritual. Whenever you get betrothed, you actually, instead of swapping rings, you swap a toe. And so you have a toe from the woman who you were once betrothed to but never married. And the toe was named Tony.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that toe and its meaning to you.
Well, that's a difficult subject.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that was going to come up today, but okay. Tony and I. Well, it's my left foot. It's my ring toe.
Yeah, the ring toe of your left foot.
My left foot. And as it was cut off, I thought, I'll never run again. But when it was fused by the shaman with the healing light, I knew that everything was going to be okay. And I thought that, I was going to be spending the rest of my life running with this tribe. And they said that I had passed every test. But that Running Squirrel just didn't want to be with me.
And even to this day, Tony sometimes talks to you, much like you've described it as much like The Shining.
Yeah.
With Red toe. Rum, the ghost toe. Mm-hmm. What things does he say to you? Are they horrifying? Are they funny? Are they lamenting a past?
You'll never be free. You'll never, ever be free. You'll never run with us. You're a city dweller.
That is heartbreaking, because city dweller to the Tarahummara is one of the worst insults you can come up with.
Worst possible insult.
And Tony not only gives you deep, insightful, meaningful words, he also gives you premonitions.
Yes, I've experienced visions.
And one of the visions you had was in about 5 years' time. It was you shirtless with just khaki shorts in a desert, and you were just on this run, and there was no one else around you, but you felt like you were being chased, and
yes.
You didn't know what by, and there was blood dripping from a spear, a cracked in half spear in your hand, and in front of you saw an oasis, and you knew it was a mirage, but still you were desperate to get there because you don't have any water, and you're about to die, and you were lonely and sick and pale. What does that mean to you?
Well, I was desperate. I was a man who was lost. Mm-hmm. I was searching for myself, and I thought in that mirage there would be the answer. So I desperately clung to that hope, only to fall short.
October is here, and that can only mean one thing: shit-eating cider face. The spiked cider so fuck-facey magical, it puts that shit grin on your tired pucker. So pucker up, you shit-eating fuck-face horsetooth, and sink that alabaster into a fresh can of cider. It's hard, it's alcoholic, and it'll turn that pumpkin chunkin' beer wench into a fruity piece of caramel afterthought. So pick up a sixer, guzzle a 12, and bang a 2. Cider Face Cider, now available in your local grocer's freezer. Support for the Sidebar podcast is also made possible thanks to your diapers. Is seasonal depression sinking your nether region? Then you need your diapers. Your diapers is the only adult diaper on the market made by the people who wear them most: dying old people. Yes, your diapers has the factories and the people power to plow through any butt mud that may be running down your Hershey highway. With 8 pockets of poo-powered freshness, you'd be tighter than an exiting kidney stone to not push for their product. Buy your diapers. They're diapers for when other diapers won't do. Now, you are a spiritual person. Premonitions aside, you also are very deep in the shamanic arts, your spirit animal is a camel's toe. And this camel toe,
specifically of a hawk. It's a hawk's camel's toe.
Oh, okay. And where did this hawk's camel toe guide you in your spirit journey?
It came to me in a vision while I was running with the tribe.
Mm-hmm.
I had fallen behind at about mile 70, and a bird flew to a cactus not more than 4 feet in front of me, perched on high, stared at me. I stared back at him, and we stared into each other's souls. I knew that the camel toe that this hawk was displaying was showing me that I needed to change. I knew then, if I could only go back to that moment, that hawk was trying to show me that I was never going to be accepted in that tribe. I needed to fly by my own tight pants.
But isn't the sole of a toe just the bottom of a foot?
You know what? Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So maybe you were misled in your reading. You don't have to fly by your own tight pants, but just by your strong, supple, calloused feet bottoms.
You're right. You're right.
Since you've returned, you've been an avid supporter of the Tarahummara practices in ways that would benefit U.S. runners to become once again competitive on an international stage.
Yes. So I introduced Teschino, which is a beverage that the tribe will consume. It's a corn beer, essentially. And this gives the runners the extra added carbohydrates and energy that they need to perform on a long-distance run. So I have introduced that to a lot of different running stores. We've gotten quite a good, bout of feedback this year. Our Instagram is up to 600 followers.
All right.
So we're pretty excited about that. And I also have helped to start Socks with No Bottoms. So Socks with No Bottoms is essentially a way for the Tarahummara to stay warm in the winter months. Acts as sort of ankle muffs, sort of ear muffs for your ankles. And it's a great way to put our sponsors on the sides of their feet without forcing them to wear shoes.
So it's sort of like a ankle dress with a skirt on the bottom. Kind of hangs around the sides of your feet.
Just think of it like a sock that has most of the sock, but the very bottom of the foot is cut off.
Okay, so how is it secured to the bottom of the foot? Is it taped? Is it glued?
No, it just lays upon the top of the foot.
Oh, okay.
Imagine you took your sock and just sliced off the bottom part of the sock, only exposing your bare feet.
But it has been marketed more as muffs, and that's why you've partnered with Cyndi Lauper and Madonna, to harken back to the 80s style muffs.
Yes.
They are huge fans. Madonna actually has been wearing it at all the red carpet.
Oh, sure. The leg warmer Socks with No Bottoms are probably our best sellers, thanks to Madonna. We really want to thank her for that. Her contributions really help us to get this thing off the ground. She was on board right away.
Yes.
It was just incredible. Madonna was like, Socks with No Bottoms? Yes, I'm on.
She's a trendsetter.
She is.
The way she has kept relevant all these years is she always
and Lauper? I mean, are you kidding?
Both of them. They're always at the cutting edge. And I think they recognize that this is the cutting edge. And what you have next, the toe muffs, look to be extraordinary.
Yeah, which essentially are just toe socks. Think of little toe socks, but with the ends cut off, right? So think of like sleeves for your socks. But I'm calling them toe muffs because it's just so cute,
That's very cute.
Absolutely.
And you're coming out with the special brand Like a Virgin muff, which is going to go just around the pinky toe.
Yes, just, a few limited edition Madonna and Cyndi Lauper inspired lines. We have to please the fans.
Mm-hmm. Now, so you're getting pushback from not only your higher ups, as you mentioned before, at Runner's World, but you're also getting pushback in the fashion world.
Yes.
People don't like what you're doing.
People are not happy.
No.
People don't like feet. And I have long been a proponent of letting your feet breathe. Your feet are people too. Your feet have feelings.
When I was covering Hurricane Sandy in my Pulitzer Prize winning turn, I had to excavate a man from drowning. To save him from drowning, I had to excavate him from a fallen building, and he told me to cut off his feet, and I said, "No, sir. Then how would you get around?"
Yeah. How would you get around?
There's one partner you won't partner with, and that is the World Cup with FIFA. You won't partner with the World Cup for soccer or any other FIFA-related games. Why not? It seems like that would be your exact fan base.
Ever since the Sepp Blatter scandal, when FIFA, was exposed for all of its corruption, we had to steer this thing in another direction. We didn't want to link our name to an association that has year after year shown signs of corruption. From the scandals with Juventus, in the late 90s and the early 2000s, to the most recent World Cup scandals, with Russia and Qatar getting the bids. I mean, it's just clearly signs of corruption made it so that we just couldn't work with that organization.
That is fair, but are you above just making a little bit of money instead? I'm not sure why corruption would stop you from partnering with, again, what would be probably your biggest partner.
Yeah, it's really too bad, because soccer is obviously, or football, as the rest of the world would call it.
Yes. Well, it's soccer here.
The most
United
popular
States of
sport.
America.
That's true. It's the most popular sport worldwide, though. And I know we haven't adopted it as a major sport here in the United States, but it's really sad for me that I can't have socks without bottoms on Real Madrid, my favorite team my entire life. I wish that, before Cristiano Ronaldo left the team, he could have worn some socks without bottoms.
He could have. And the worst part is that you yourself have actually come up with some soccer training methods to enrich soccer players and give them more vitality and endurance on the field. One of them is, of course, hand running, which to most people in the world would look like wheelbarrow racing, but you have a bit of a flair on it. Explain that methodology.
Yes, I do more of the hoe. If you're familiar with the farm equipment, a hoe. So
yes.
I'm digging into the ground, ripping, shredding the ground in front of me, tearing my way to the finish line. Mm-hmm. It is a much more intense wheelbarrow, and I prefer that you don't refer to it as the wheelbarrow. I mean, I just want the proper respect for the exercise.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand, because most of your...
the Icelandic national team relies on my training.
So your team, the Icelandic team...
Yes.
Do you feel like you're giving an unfair advantage because you have Viking blood coursing through your veins?
Oh, absolutely. I think that is the pride of our nation. And Brian Boru is the Viking that I am descended of. He was a king of Ireland for a short time. He lived in a longhouse with 11 other people and was still a king. He lived in a house no bigger than a studio apartment in New York City with 13 people.
Wow.
And he was the king. Because the Vikings knew how to live and work and play together.
All on top of each other, if need be.
Sure, they shared sexual partners.
And so together with the Viking blood and the testosterone coursing through your veins, and with the hand running and the Tarahummara, you have actually created multiple teams of just Viking warriors
Yes.
that are going to just run through
Berserkers
that are going to berserk their way through any sport and any field or pool for that matter.
Yes, our swim team really has taken off from our methods. All they were doing was wheelbarrow before I came in.
Mm-hmm.
I revolutionized everything for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the freestyle was changed because of my work.
Mm-hmm. Now, I hear that you are also descended from the old lady in the shoe.
Yes,
From
and
Ace-
Brian Baru.
And Brian Baru.
Yeah.
How does she affect your status in the world? And also, how does looking back on that, on her story, how does that teach you how to live? Because your ancestors are really just blueprints.
Well,
our ancestors are blueprints for ourselves.
It taught me to make time for people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think that, my childhood is forgettable, not a lot of attention,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of mouths to feed. And I'm glad I got out of there.
Yeah. It's a very, very harsh environment when you're in a big family.
Yeah. Not enough love to go around.
Yeah. And
You know what I mean?
a lot of gout as well.
Yeah.
When you're being brought up in that close
Terrible
quarters. Just
amounts of gout.
terrible gout. Because everybody's just eating such rich and lardy foods
Foie gras every night.
every night. It's a hard upbringing.
Goose liver every single night.
And so that's why now you're with this group of strong Viking, brazenly muscular men who are all strangely tanned. You're just pillaging every single sports stadium you can find.
Yes. Back to the roots of our culture of pillaging and taking what we'd like, but on a sports field in a respectful way.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I think. That's what I think sportsmanship really means, is being able to desecrate someone on a field and embarrass them, and then go out to drinks with them afterwards.
Yes. Nearly put them within an inch of their life, taking away any hope for a quality of life, and then buying them a shot.
That seems like the nice way of doing things. You are a family man, a local man, man of men. You're currently actually getting involved in local politics. You're running for office. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, yes, I am. I'm running for comptroller of San Francisco. So I, a glorified accountant, really. But there is some spending that I think could change, and I think that there are certain things like community outreach for safe use centers for drug addicts, housing for the homeless, rather than just a little box that collects change and then we redistribute this sort of unknown sum to the homeless. But where does that money really go? I want to make a difference.
But you've also campaigned that instead of housing the homeless, you should just train them in long distance running so that they just continue to run around the country. Yes.
If you can't find food where you are, it's amazing if you scavenge the country and run on foot. If a lot of people are familiar with Forrest Gump, and if you watch Forrest Gump,
you just run coast to coast.
You just run coast to coast.
You will get a national following, and people will adore you, and then people will follow you,
and people will feed you. Mm-hmm. People will be inspired by your run.
So Diljar, what's next?
It's been a long time since I've taken time for me. Just what does Diljar want? Diljar wants to backpack the Appalachian Trail.
Mm.
He wants to take a deep backwoods stroll for 3 to 6 months. Everything in, everything out. Bagging up my own shit. Not leaving any impact.
Mm-hmm.
Not leaving any more of an impact than already has been left. And connecting again with Mother Earth and... just getting out of the rat race
Well,
that this life is.
You're getting out of the rat race, pun intended, and you're getting into the truffle game.
Yes. And it's something, it's a little sensitive to talk about because the families that are involved in truffles, they oftentimes will tell you, if you want to get into truffle business, this is not a good business for you. They'll straight up just tell you that. And
because of your history, some of the baggage that you carry. The truffle families like to be clean, keep out of the newspaper. They stay mostly in the shadows.
Well, yeah, they're mostly mafia as well, which is why they want to stay in the shadows. It's a very lucrative business, and pigs have been used for many years, but now it's mostly dogs because the pigs, when they find it, they eat the truffle. But I have trained pigs to be able to not eat that truffle.
Mm.
Shock collars for pigs. As soon as they start to chew, it shocks them. So I have some pig shock collars for sniffing out truffles in Alba, Italy, clearly under the white oak tree where they all grow.
The truffle pig squad you actually raised on a farm that you own. And just like the little piggies on your toes, you named the little piggies in your squad. But you named the little piggies in your squad after Norse deities instead of the Christian saints.
Yes. So
tell me what Freya is like.
Well, Freya is a lover. Freya is kind, unlike her Norse name. She really will surprise you with her intelligence as well. It's unbelievable how smart those little animals are.
Mm-hmm. They actually are, I believe it is a second grade, third grade level of intelligence.
Yes. Odin really has displayed some fantastic penmanship.
Mm.
And his calligraphy is really impressive.
And these pigs are actually taking over the jobs of your carrier pigeons.
Yes. It can't all be done by just the pigeons because then we will be exploiting them. They cannot also have a monopoly on the business.
That seems like a good way of sharing the load. Because these pigs have to cover long distances in order to make up for the pigeons, how do you prepare a pig for a long distance? How do you harden its hooves?
It starts with cobblestone paths. Bringing the herd, the flock, if you will. I like to call them my flock of pigs. They have to get used to the cobblestone roads, and we put in a lot of miles in the first few months. And then I actually have to shoe them. I have to shoe the pigs because their little hooves can't handle those long distances.
Is that SHOE or SHOO? As in shoe go away? Because if you're chasing them down the cobblestones to imbue a sense of urgency inside of them, I understand. But I also understand putting actual shoes, like little bootsies, on pigs. So either one could work.
It's little pig boots.
I'm actually a little disappointed.
Sorry. I didn't mean to disappoint you.
I was imagining a svelte Nordic man chasing small piglets down a cobblestone street in Italy.
Oh, that's happening as well. That's part of the conditioning before we shoe the pigs. We get them ready to run.
Which piggy do you take to the market?
Usually the medium-sized piggy, the one who gives you the least amount of grief. You don't want to take the whiny one You don't want to take the little one. You don't want to take the runt, you know.
Which piggy stays home?
For me right now, it's Freya. She's a little snuggler. You know, I kind of pick. It's up to me. It's like I'm kind of like like the guy in the Japanese sniper tower who would just decide to kill one prisoner per day every time they brought someone in. So I have to choose randomly.
Of course. But which piggy goes to eat roast beef?
I see what you're doing there. I see what you're doing. My pigs eat a strict diet of vegetarian feed, all organic, urban farmed. They don't eat meat. Silly. I see what you're doing.
And what about your pig, Wee Wee? What does he do?
Oh, well, Wee Wee stays at home with me. Wee Wee is my pet pig who I've had for 11 years. So she's going to stay at home with me, definitely.
And you have your annual, Wee Wee oversees your annual event in which you invite all of the kids of this. Where is it in Italy?
Oh, it's in Florence.
It's in Florence. You invite all of the children of the neighborhoods of Florence to a running of the pigs.
Yes, a running of the pigs in Firenze.
And that is actually no ham or bacon is to be served there.
Oh, absolutely not. And I know that they revere their prosciutto.
They do.
Especially in the San Daniele region there.
And all the children must be barefoot, and at least one child per trio must be hoed.
Yes, it's a hoedown, if you will. But we're not allowed to use that name, so it's a hoe race. It's a hoe race.
Diljar Gunnarsson, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Next week on the Sidebar. Everyone wants to wear mustaches, but no one looks good in them. So why are we still talking about mustaches? I'm Clint Mars Novak. Thanks for stopping by.